Okay, happy to be joined today here by 5 of our head coaches among the top-ranked teams in the country. From my far right, Tom Brands from Iowa, currently ranked number 2. Rob Koll from Cornell. Number 1, currently ranked, Greg Randall from Boise State, one of 2 teams that have 10 participants. Cael Sanderson from Penn State, currently ranked number 4. And John Smith next to me from Oklahoma State, currently ranked number 3. All those rankings by the NWCA and USA Today. So the way we'll start this is we'll have each coach make an opening statement, and then we'll take questions. At that point, same format as we followed before. If you'd please raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you and give your name and affiliation. That being said, Coach Brands, if you want to get us started with an opening statement.
The idea is to be in this position at the end of the tournament where you're answering questions that are fun to answer. And I'll leave it at that. We got work to do, and 0 hour is upon us.
Coach Koll?
I've been many years on the outside looking in. It's always better to be up here. We've got number 1 ranked team coming in, and we just hope we can be number 1 ranked going out.
Coach Randall?
How you doing? No, it's nice to be here in Philadelphia. Great people so far. Real nice people to be around, and very, very helpful from wherever you are, from the hotel to here. But we're here for one reason, and that's to compete for a national title. And these guys are, putting the pressure on me. So it's going to be fun. I hope it's going to be fun, and looking forward to it.
Nice, Coach. Coach Sanderson?
Well, it's going to be a great weekend. We're excited to be here. Being in our home state, it's it's going to be. We hope to make it a very special year, but that's about all I have.
Well, what I've seen so far, it's a great facility. The organizing committee has done a great job welcoming these athletes. It's just been a good day, just as far as getting back and forth from the hotel to here. Everything seems really easy, and seems like it's going to be a great championship. And obviously for our team, I really believe that we're going to have a great championship.
Appreciate that, coaches. My microphone runners are hopefully still here. Raise your hands if you have a question for any of our coaches. If you could direct that to who you want to answer, that would help us. Go ahead right now.
Dave Willauer, Wrestling USA. I have a question for Cael Sanderson. How much has Brad Pataki been to you this year? I know he's been injured a little bit, but he's helped you and sort of had a lower seed. How do you address that?
Well, Pataki has been to this tournament. I think this will be his 3rd time, and he's wrestled very well at the national tournament. Hasn't quite reached his goal of being an All-American or a national champion, but it's been a long year for him and a very rough road, but he's been very diligent in doing what he had to do to to make this opportunity possible, and now it's in his hands, and I hope he has the success that he's worked for.
Once again, Mike Finn for Win. This is for Tom, for Cael, and for John Smith. Each of you has had a season where you actually could have had a low point, be it the Midlands for Iowa, be it the Nationals for Oklahoma State, or even the Iowa Dual for Penn State. What happened to your team after that? How did you rebound? Were there any specific things?
Nature of the sport is to fight, and that's what you do. It's got to come from the athletes. There's got to be leadership, but it's got to come from the athletes. They make up their mind, and you make adjustments along the way, whether it's communication adjustments or it's just what any of these guys and 85 other coaches out there are doing every day. So we have a good group of guys. That's why.
Who else were you looking for a response?
For Cael and John.
Well, that's just kind of the nature of the game. You want everything to go perfectly, but when it doesn't happen, you just have to stay real positive and just really emphasize the positives. I think that's the important thing, and that's what we're doing. We have a young team, but we have kids that love to compete, and the bigger the match, I believe the better they're going to wrestle. But it just comes back to, like I said, just when things don't go your way, you gotta keep moving. You gotta to keep your head up and you got to keep smiling.
Well, I think at the national duels, the 2 matches we lost was no surprise to me. And then after the national duels, we talked about overachieving. I mean, for us to really have a great season from that point on, we have to overachieve as a team because of the lineup we have. So since the national duels, that's what we've done. I felt like we're getting the most out of them and even more. So for that reason, we've had a real successful season since the duels.
Microphone over here. Good, Gary.
This is Gary Abbott with USA Wrestling, and I'd just like to address all the coaches. Coming in, this is a real hard event to handicap. We've got a lot of good programs that have good athletes that have potential to do well. As a coach, do you like the challenge of coming into an event where nobody really knows what's going to happen the next few days? Start with Coach Brands, if I could.
The first question I'd have, or the statement I'd have, be a question: why am I always the one to start this?
You're on the left side.
Here's the deal. You don't know what's going to happen ever. You can have a high-powered team and you don't know what's going to happen. So it comes down to being ready to go. There's going to be a lot of statements that are along those lines. I mean, I'm sure the thought process is very similar. Battle, be ready, do what you do best, those types of things, routine, and we feel good if our guys do what I just described.
Yeah, I talked to our kids earlier. I said the only thing you can count on is you don't know what to count on. So that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. I've got guys on my team, they're scouting guys that wrestle in the semifinals, and they don't even know who they're going to, they got to get back past 3 matches. So every year you come in here, and we had it 2 years ago with Mac Lunas getting knocked off, first undefeated wrestler, first seed, he goes 0-2. And we've had kids who come in here who aren't seeded and play. So you're either going to be a hero or a goat, and our mission this week is to find a couple kids who maybe people have never heard of them, and find a way to get those guys in the All-American round. Because unfortunately, I've got a sneaky suspicion we're going to have some upsets that are going to go our way, and there's not anybody sitting here that's going to have anything different. So I'm looking forward to it. This whole year has just been almost too fast. We've enjoyed the highs. I didn't get called out on that last question, but we've had our share of lows as well. And as I said, the only thing you can count on is you have absolutely no idea what to count on.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what's going to happen, because then you'd be the champions every year. But we talk about taking one match at a time, never looking past your next match or your next opponent, and go out and do what you do best, and hit your go-to moves, make them work, and finish hard and finish fast. And so that's about the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you can count on is having your wrestler compete at the highest level at 110%, and hopefully wrestle to win.
Well, I think competition's exciting, and I've heard from several people just today, just media, and just talking about how this is the first year in a long time that it's really been up for grabs. Everyone in here would contend with that statement, obviously, but it just comes down to you got to love competition, and the more challenging, the more exciting, and the better the opportunity. And that's just hopefully that's what we want our guys to do. We want them to love it. Love the great opportunities like this, and really it just comes down to wanting it. The guys that want it, they'll find a way to get it.
A lot of the same. It ought to be a great championship, and I don't think that you can overlook maybe overlooking a couple other teams that aren't represented up here, but I think it's a matter of wrestling every match, taking a match at a time, and really embracing the moment. For my guys, that's what it's going to be important, is we just embrace the moment, not get ahead of ourselves, and don't look behind if something negative happens.
This is Dave Willard, Wrestling USA. John Smith, talk about Jordan Oliver this year. How much has he been asked to your squad this year? He's been going Oh, 100%, just doing good for your team.
Had a great year, obviously. You know, he kind of embraced what we've been preaching to him for 3 years, this being the start of the third. I think the biggest thing with Jordan, him making a decision he was going to go back down, I really pushed him to try to go to 41. And once he made a decision in his head he was going to go 33, a lot of things changed without us having to, you know, be there. A lot of self-reliance and controlling his weight, doing a lot of good things. His weight's been no issue this year. And I just think when you make that decision, your coach is pushing you one direction and you make another decision, understanding what's ahead of you, it puts you on the right, it gives you the right mindset. And he came into the season, and obviously he's in an attack mode at all times. He doesn't have a fear of getting taken down. And if we see a lot of that this weekend, you're going to see a lot of good wrestling from him.
Thanks, Coach. Other questions? In the back.
John Smallwood, Philadelphia Daily News, and I start with Coach Sanderson since this is his state. But for all you coaches up here, to bring this event to a city like Philadelphia, where maybe the high school programs don't have the exposure to it, and there are not a lot of kids into the sport, is it a benefit for this event to be here, to see, for kids to see what it is at this level and maybe just generate some interest?
Sure, I think it's great for the sport to be in Philadelphia and to be in a large city like this. It's not the most convenient for us, and especially not our athletes. Just it's a little more difficult, you know, to get around and to do the things that you're used to doing. But you know, we're all in the same boat. But as far as being great for the sport, I think it is.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Is this thing working? I don't know why people think the wrestling around here is not that great. I just got back from the Pennsylvania State Championships, and it might not be in the inner city of Philadelphia, but this area is fantastic. It's gotten better. I grew up in State College, Pennsylvania, and in the old days we used to love getting a kid from Philadelphia area. Now there's some kids in that area that I'm definitely going to have on my recruiting list. So hopefully all these coaches hear what you're saying and they stay the heck away, because it's really, really good. As far as the inner city, you know, I know I know we have a couple teams that come to Clark wrestling camp over the summer. So there is quite a few kids that do wrestle, and it might not be like football or basketball, but it's not like football or basketball anywhere in the country. As far as growing the sport, the problem is these kids probably aren't going to be in the venue. And generally speaking, when I'm 14, 15 years old, I'm not reading the Philadelphia Inquirer. So I don't know what we've done to reach out to those kids. Probably would have been great if we could have gotten some of these guys in here. But I said I'm not aware of what the NCAA or the planning committee has done to actually reach out to these kids and try to grow it in the area.
Other questions? Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, this is a question for all you coaches. I know you're really involved with this tournament. That's where your focus should be. But the rest of the world got some news about Nebraska Omaha, a different division, but just won a national championship and is going to now have its program cut. I guess I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on that. As the leaders of this sport, at least on this division, what could you guys do to help change these attitudes where athletic directors are simply cutting this sport?
Maybe start down at this end this time.
I don't think this is the place to really bring that up. This is a celebration, you know. There's going to be some programs that might not make it. I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of things right now, but you know, this is the NCAA Division I championships, and I really don't think the question needs to be brought up at this point. This is a time to celebrate. We got a lot of student athletes that worked hard, ready to go, excited. So for that reason, that's my answer.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Are we allowed to answer it after that?
Sure you can.
You know, yeah, we 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Every 2 programs you get, you reinstate, or you start, you drop 3. I think it's an incredibly short-sighted decision on an athletic director who probably doesn't have a lot of experience in athletic fundraising. You disenfranchise 50, 60 years of alumni, and as far as just a fiscal decision, it's probably one of the worst decisions an athletic director can make for his university, and that needs to be pointed out to them. And their alumni, you're not going to save it in this venue. That needs to be done at Nebraska. You know, what can I do in Ithaca, New York, then write a letter which he can push, delete, or throw away. It needs to be homegrown. But the differences and changes occur when the town of Nebraska, when in the town of Omaha, they start marching on his house, and they start getting in front of this guy, and they start pulling resources away from the university. That's when the change occurs, not from talking about it in Philadelphia.
Appreciate that, Coach. Question over here on this side.
This coach, Sanderson, I'd just like to hear your thoughts about your freshman David Taylor and the kind of season he has and what kind of an athlete and person he's been for your program.
David Taylor is, he's exceptional, and all you have to do is watch him wrestle. He's fearless, and he's done just I can't even, you can't measure the impact that he has had on a program and that he will in the future, just with the attitude that he competes with and the energy that he brings to the team. And he just loves to compete. He's always, the bigger the match, like I mentioned earlier, the better he's going to wrestle, and that's the way he's been his whole life. But I haven't really been around anybody that comes to mind that loves the sport more than he does. He's been a student of the game since I met him when he was a little kid, growing up in Wyoming, and he hasn't changed one bit. And that fearless attitude is, and nonstop trying to get better every day is, you can see that when you see him out on the mat.
Go ahead, Dave.
Cael, how surprised has Ed Ruth been to your squad this year?
I don't think Ruth's been a surprise. We had him in the room every day last year, and we know how good he is. He's just one of those kids that he's just so talented. But in addition to that, there's a lot of talented kids, but he's very competitive. He likes to win. He might not act like that sometimes when he's competing, but he likes to win. And he's a guy that likes to perform. That might be a better word for him, and I think that we'll see that this weekend.
Willie Saylor, the open mat, for Coach Randall. You guys have become pretty much the dominant team out west the last couple of years and contender for the national title. Can you talk a little bit about the development of your program out west?
Well, a lot of it just comes down to where you recruit, and we've done a great job taking advantage of states that don't have Division I wrestling. You look at Washington, Montana, Nevada, and Mexico. You go on and on out there. And what we've developed is a coaching strategy, our recruiting strategy, to where we got to get the best wrestler from each and one of those states. And that's where it all started, and we also got to keep our best wrestlers in the state of Idaho to come to Boise. And these guys do a really good job pulling our really good ones away from us. But lately we've been able to keep our guys like Adam Hall and Kirk Smith, and it's been a huge asset to our wrestling program. And as far as being the best out west, that's it's a good place to start. But now we're here at the national tournament, and we're hopefully we could prove that we're here and we're here to stay. And so I'm looking forward this weekend and bringing the best team out west out east.
Go ahead, Gary.
Just a question for Coach Sanderson and also for Coach Koll. What would it mean to wrestling in this part of the country for a team from the East to win the NCAAs as a team? I think the last one you could call close to East was '67 with Michigan State. It goes all the way back to the '50s with Penn State winning. Would having a team from this part of the country winning here in Philadelphia really boost the sport in this region?
You want to start, Coach Koll?
It already has. We've got 1,000 people signed up for our party, after party on Saturday night. And I remember growing up as a kid sneaking into the Iowa party when I was in a freshman year, and they had those kinds of people. Like, good God, to think that it's a cool little Cornell. Our first year here, I remember when I was out with Jack Spates, it was Oklahoma City, and the only person in there was Andy Noel, our athletic director, and a couple other people. and now we've got 1,000 signing up for the party, and we probably have about 1,500 in the stands, and we'd have more if the darn fans from Penn State weren't hawking all the darn tickets, and that's the truth. So you're going to see a sea of white C's and probably a whole bunch of PSUs out there, and you know, it needs to grow in the East. You have a huge population. Certainly Iowa is dominant in the Midwest, but hey, you only have a couple thousand people in Iowa. All right, we need to grow it in the East Coast, where you have millions of people, and that's really where the growth can occur. And so this is where it needs to occur, and hopefully we can get the national championship back here a couple more years after it goes out to, once again, out in the Midwest.
Well, I think it would be great, like Coach Koll said, for the East, but just our program in itself, it would be, like any program, you win the national championship, things really start to get rolling. But Penn State's, I think, very unique in the amount of support that they've received over the years, despite not having won a national championship, but always being very good. So, I mean, I'm just excited for this opportunity, and not just for our team, but for the fans that have been as loyal as they have been for so long. And, I mean, that's one thing that I was really in awe of, coming to Penn State, was just, how much support there is and how much love for wrestling there is in Pennsylvania and the East in general. So getting a national championship out here would be a real big deal.
We have a question over here.
John Campbell from KCRG TV. This is for Tom Brands. Tom, you're sending 7 guys out there for the first time in the Nationals tomorrow. What are you expecting from those young men?
Generic answer says they are ready because they've been getting ready their whole life for big competitions, state tournaments, national, high school tournaments, things of that nature. What do I expect? The same ferocious competitor, tough, mind and body and spirit, battle. So does that guarantee automatic results in our favor? No, but it ups our chances. And these guys train that way, they live that way, and so their chances do go up. So my expectations, we want to win 10 weights, but we only got 9 guys in the tournament. And remember who I was coached by. That guy's goofy with his expectations. So our expectations are high. We expect a lot. Our guys live the way they live to get the results they want. And now it's time to see it shake out.
Thanks, Coach. Any other questions for our head coaches up here? Okay, if not, we appreciate it. We'll be back with press conference mode after the first semifinal on Friday night. Guys, thanks so much for your time.